It's the ESCtips.com Eurovision Preview Podcast. Join us as we sort this year's contenders from the duds.
Attention, you are now entering a fanboy free zone.
Hello and welcome to the first of three Eurovision 2018 preview podcasts from ESCtips. Today I will be discussing the first semi-final, and I'm joined by two special guests. First up, representing the betting community, it's the owner of Entertainment Odds, Rob Furber. How you doing, Rob?
Hi, Gav. Yeah, very well, thanks.
So you were geared up for Lisbon, yeah?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Can't come quick enough now. It's been such a long build-up, as it always is, and I just want to get out there and start seeing the rehearsals.
Yeah, I just sort of think that, we get to kind of October, November, we can't wait for it to get started, and then by the time we get to end of March, early April, we just want to get it over.
Exactly.
We're flagging already. Next up, we have writer, broadcaster, and ESC apocalypse grenade thrower. It's Roy Delaney. So, Roy. Hello. If there's one song from the pre-selection season everyone should watch on your site, what is it?
Oh, there are so many. There's a lovely old bloke from Moldova called Chud de Bumbak, who's about 70-year-old bloke who's in a nasty suit, just mumbling to disco. He's worth a dig. And I love Ida Maria's Scan. Was possibly one of the best songs of the whole tournament, but she absolutely destroyed it live, and it was fabulous watching somebody who'd obviously paid a lot to put a show together, really failing at it with a really good song. That's another one of my favourites of the year.
Now, the old guy mumbling wasn't he in the Romanian final, or was that someone else that was mumbling? He had quite a high speed dance track, didn't he? He comes back every year.
Oh, that's what's his name? That's someone Giorgio. No, he's there every year as well. He's getting quicker and quicker. He's actually he's got a very esoteric religion behind him. All his songs are lessons in life. And not that you notice it, and they've all got about 4 hits if you find them on YouTube.
As they all are. Lessons in life. You're describing Iceland's entry this year.
Oh man! Oh yeah. What kind of lessons can we glean from that?
Yeah, I tell you what, my favourite, and I don't know whether it's the one that you've mentioned, is the one with the midgets. Fantastic. What was it? The midget with the saxophone. Epic.
Lithuania. There's a fella in a suit, all covered in clouds, doing lots of angular dancing. Cuts away, has an argument with the drummer, and then comes back, and there's a midget with a saxophone in a bow tie, and then he does a somersault over the top of him. It was all very. What more can happen in this song?
I'm actually going to post that. I'm going to link it into ESCtips so everyone can watch it. It's amazing. Brilliant. If only these sorts of songs can make it. Just like old school Eurovision. Something totally crazy and mad instead of polished and Swedish.
But to be honest, it's been a really quiet year for that. It was a real hard year doing Eurovision Apocalypse this year, because there was no mentalists, there was no bonkers and that stuff.
Because everyone's obsessed with being too clean and polished. That's why.
Either that, or they cut them out before they even get to that step. That's why the Belarusian and the Moldovan open auditions are fabulous things to see. Oh man!
They can send them to the UK. We'll launch up the scoreboard.
Probably.
Yes. Anyway, right. Let's get on with it. The running order was published last week, and here's the first semi. It's Azerbaijan, Iceland, Albania, Belgium, Czech Republic, Lithuania, Israel, Belarus, Estonia, Bulgaria, Macedonia, Croatia, Austria, Greece, Finland, Armenia, Switzerland, Ireland, and then in the pimp slot it's Cyprus. So first we're going to look at the high points and low points of the... First we're going to look at the high points and low points, so the certainties for qualification and those checking out of Lisbon a few days early. Let's go to Rob first. What are your high points and low points in this semi?
Yeah, I think, the first half is obviously incredibly strong. It's probably the strongest first half to a semi-final I think we've ever had. So competition is really fierce for qualification. And then in the second half, I think the two ethno ballads from Greece and Armenia that come either side of Finland, I rate them very highly. I think they could resonate powerfully live in Lisbon. I think Jana's track for Greece just has this wonderful ethereal sound almost. And I don't think you have to be Greek to appreciate it. I've noticed it's been doing really impressive YouTube numbers. It seems to have got the Greeks enthused.
I think that was the one question, wasn't it, after recent years, is whether they're going to send a song that attracts the Greek vote, given that they tend to prefer upbeat.
That's it, yeah. But I think it's got this really strong narrative behind it. You know, it's really like a open love letter to Greece. So it sort of will engender that kind of nationalistic pride, I think. And then Savak's track for Armenia, I think it's really dark and brooding, and I think he's got strong stage presence. And I think that's one that's possibly been a little bit underrated. So those are high points for me, certainly in the second half. And I think that's actually possibly bad news for Finland's Sara Aalto, who's she's squeezed in between those two.
Yeah, I think the bad news is it's been on the wall for quite a few weeks for Sara, isn't it? I've not been 100% happy with Armenia. I think it's just a bit too dark and aggressive, but I can understand they could totally change the staging of that, and if they can edge it closer to, let's say, cooler, I think it could do a lot better. But at the moment, it just feels a bit too aggressive and distant. He does a lot of frowning, and it's never a good look, especially when people could vote for Austria. He was the backing singer for Bulgaria last year.
Yeah, he sounded really good in London. Caesar. Yeah.
And in fairness, if somehow Ireland can perform it and appeal to the kind of female crowd, I think even though it's not much of a song, it's very gentle, quite insipid. If Armenia's a bit too fierce, I could see Ireland diverting quite a few votes away there. Any negatives for you, Rob?
Oh, there's plenty. I mean, obviously, I think the draw is really bad news for Iceland and Albania's qualification hopes. I think they're really up against it. And then, well, bad is Alexev's vocal and diction, isn't it? Singing forever. Not to mention how they outfitted him at the Belarus national final.
I don't think that will stick around. And he's got Alex Panayi with him doing the diction.
Yeah, trying to improve his English.
Yeah.
They've made so many changes to this track. You know, it's as if they had a good song, the original Russian version, but it wasn't allowed, so they had to go with the English lyric version. And from that point on, every decision they've made seems to have been a bad one.
Although I still think there's something about it. There's something about the melody of the chorus that it's one of the few songs this year that sticks in my head that I sort of sing in the bath.
It's got a very Eurovision chorus. It sounds, it's that note progression. It's very similar. There's lots of songs like it, and the only one that I can pinpoint is like Milim, the Israeli entry quite a few years back. Play it because they're very similar.
But it's got that kind of the sort of East European minor chord thing about it as well that they tend to go for, and there's a lot of countries that tend to go for that in this semi-final. So I think it'll be a borderline, but I can see this doing all right.
Yeah, and he's fairly popular in the region as well. I could see him doing a lot better than Bulgaria, for instance, with the televote in his regional area. And I suppose Bulgaria is one of those nervy ones, depending on how they turn up. Vocally, they sound okay, but there was a lot of playback at London, wasn't there, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult, isn't it, with the backing track at these live concerts. I think there was a backing track. I mean, what I could hear, I was actually quite impressed with what you could hear of their live harmonising. But I agree. I mean, it's got a lot to prove. I think also visually, it's going to be very difficult, isn't it, with so many of these singers on stage. And you know, it just could be a bit of a mess, I think. But that said, if they can do it justice and work some amazing magic with the staging, it might be one that's actually, you know, it elevates itself live.
Yep.
You know, just have to see.
So you've got no doubt they're going to be able to sing it. I mean, they're all seasoned pros, and they've all got quite a track record behind them. So whether they can sing it together is another matter. If they try and outdo each other like that, don't deny a couple of years ago, which was just a singing fight on stage. It's hard to call this one, isn't it? It's really I mean, obviously, we've been aware of the song a little longer than many of our listeners, just because of backstage shenanigans. But we kept being told that all the songs that were in the Bulgarian shortlist had a very defined show and concept to them. So I'm still curious to see what their defined concept was for this.
Well, they've got Sasha again, haven't they? And she has a tendency to be quite dark and avant-garde with her staging, and I think that's the last thing you need with this group, because some of the preview photos, with the way Zana is presented, I think there was a photo going around on Twitter with her mimicked as a lampshade. That was fantastic. That was. Obviously, they've imported 2 ringers from America to assist the vocal performance. I'm not sure how that sells in the East. Interestingly, a few of the Euro jury scores to emerge. Gives you away when we're recording this. They've emerged today. Bulgaria isn't really appearing. I think Denmark, I'm just looking at the scores now, I think
Switzerland was the top of one I saw today.
Yeah, actually Denmark, they gave 6 points to Bulgaria. You're looking at the Ukrainian one, which you'd have thought Eastern Europe, that's where they're going to be fishing for points. They didn't appear at all. Yeah, I think that's my worry. And there's also this theory about their juries voting down all of the contenders last year.
Oh yeah, that was blatant.
Yeah, it was really quite poor, quite shoddy. And I know Bulgaria,
no doubt about that.
Yeah, they did investigate it. Of course, it's like a typical EBU investigation. Nothing ever happens. It's just a show trial. But it'll be interesting to see how those countries who were deemed contenders last year will react to Bulgaria presenting themselves as a contender and want their points.
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, we don't know what gets told to the juries, at the very least, in the jury room. Yeah, it might be saying, well, vote for what you like, but not that one. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't.
That happens in every country.
Yeah.
Okay, so Roy, briefly had a chat, but what are your high points and low points?
My high point is this draw. The first half of this draw is an absolute bloodbath. I mean, do you think we're going to finally get a front-heavy qualifying semi-final?
Yes.
I can call 6 of these from the front half that could easily go through.
I think it's very, very difficult, because you really are relying on the televote to sway things. And I could see 5 songs in the last half that the televote could get behind. There's going to be a few favourites in the first half that they get behind, but I think it's so tricky to get the 6 from the first half. I think it's more likely that we'd lose a big name or two.
Yeah,
probably something like Azerbaijan or Belgium or, dare I say it, Bulgaria.
Well, I think this is the year that will really test Azerbaijan. Whether we'll see whether it's all done by smoke and mirrors or if it's generally on the song. Because it's a sing along kind of song, but the lyric just makes your teeth hurt, doesn't it? Oh man. Yeah,
it's a good opening to the show. I think the benefit for Azerbaijan is they do have a tendency to do what's required in various areas.
I can fully imagine that they've shown them their on-stage planning video at the planning meeting, and they've gone, "Yep, we'll have you on first. That's perfect."
Yeah, and I'm fairly sure that they've shown everyone the colour of their money.
Oh yes, so that's a borderline, to be honest. But I think the only real ones in the first half I'm seeing having trouble are Iceland. Bless him, depends on whether he can pull the nan vote and smile a lot and just charm the older portion of Europe.
He'll be last with the juries, though.
Well, would you think he will be?
Yeah, it's a terrible song. It's so cliche. Ugh.
Yeah, but then any juror that can read English, if they see the lyric for Azerbaijan, they're going to struggle. What's that line? Luna moon me up to the top off. I'm stronger than cannonballs. I'll tear down the firewalls. So she's advocating people making their computers not terribly safe, as far as I can work out.
I think there's lazy lyrics, which I think is what Iceland is. It's like it's written by a secondary school kid for like GCSE or something. Whereas at least Azerbaijan has a sense of purpose.
Oh yes,
that Iceland just doesn't have. It's a typical number 2 song in the running order, Iceland.
And I think Iceland got chosen in Iceland because he was such a sweet lad, and that doesn't count for nothing on the Eurovision stage when you're up against a whole lot more songs.
Yeah, it just stood out on the night.
And part of that was his interview, and he was weeping with joy, and part of that was just they knew it. Everyone in Iceland knows each other; they're all related, so yeah, they're going to know who he is and know his background. So
it's the cold Malta, you're saying?
Yeah, as it is a cold but emotionally warm Malta. Yeah, but you're looking at poor Lithuania's probably cursed a little as well, bless her, which I think is probably one of the nicest songs they've ever sent. I think that's an absolutely beautiful song, but it's just going to get lost. Look what it's in between. Czech Republic, well, two big sweary dance songs, the Czech Republic and Israel. And it's either going to make it stand out like a beacon, or you'll just forget it.
There is that, but in fairness, if anything, it hurts Belgium. That's why Belgium is such an amber for me, is because that run of songs, Czech Republic, then I think a more accessible or relatable girl from Lithuania, as opposed to distant and probably what will be quite a dark performance from Belgium. And then you have Israel after it, which kind of just wipes the slate clean after all those. It's crazy.
Oh, man. The more I look at this semi, the more I'm thinking I haven't the slightest idea. There's probably 2 or 3 songs I think haven't got any chance of sneaking in at all. I think, as much as I quite like Switzerland, I think the Zibs have had it. I'm with you with Ireland. It could, with the wind behind it, it might just sneak through. It's in a good slot, and he's likeable. But someone like Austria could accidentally get eliminated.
I think he's doing enough vocally now. I don't see him as a front man, and I've said that a few times on the site. I think he's a poor front man. I think he's more of a support vocalist.
Oh, he used to front, not in the first incarnation, but he used to front a quite big Austrian band called the Sofa Surfers. He wasn't their original singer, but they were a decent band, so they were quite of some note. Won Austrian Music Awards, so he has to be decent to take up the mantle of a previously very charismatic, popular singer. Yep. So I think he'll be able to cover it, but I don't know. It's that kind of nice middle ground song, as we've been saying. There's a lot of middling in this semi.
It's very safe, and it doesn't reach the heights that it really should.
No.
So I tell you what, we briefly looked at some non-qualifiers. Is there a surprise qualifier for you, Roy?
I'm looking at Albania there. It's got a dreadful draw, but there's nothing else like it. It's the other sort of guitar-y songs aren't quite as sweeping and as kind of uplifting as that. And you can sort of sing along to the melody without knowing any of the words. Absolutely,
I agree. It was the one. It was the first song I really, really liked, and I remember quickly skimming through all of the Albanian songs when they first got released and thought, oh, it's got to be this one. It's got to be this one. I love a bit of John Farnham, me, and if there's one thing he could do at Euro Club is sing a John Farnham classic.
Oh man, well, email him now. I'm sure he'll learn it up for you in the next couple of weeks.
Good stuff. Yeah, I'd happily see him in the final for that. Any surprises for you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lithuania actually has got a decent chance. Yeah. I get the argument that it could be forgotten between Czech Republic and Israel, but when I was listening to this semi-final in running order, admittedly it was just sort of driving in the car. I thought it stood out. I just think it's just beautifully understated. It's tender, charming. I saw Eva in London last week. I think she's very easy to warm to. I think she draws you in with her performance. And I think actually it's doing everything better than Ireland. I know Ireland has got the better draw, penultimate slot, but I think Eva is doing everything better. So I give that a solid chance, and I actually think we could well see 6 qualifiers from the first half of this semi-final.
Yeah, I know you've been saying that one for a long time. You bagsed that one early, Rob.
Yeah,
that's effectively our review for the first semi-final. Unless you've got anything else to add, chaps.
Oh well, there's songs in there that you think can go on and possibly challenge the whole thing. Possibly more so in the other semi. I think Israel's the obvious one. Obviously, it's favourite now.
Yeah.
But those of us that were keeping an eye on the Israeli qualifiers, I was getting tipped off by Israelis saying, "You've got to see this woman. This woman's incredible. Put a bet on now."
Ditto.
Yeah. And And I was just hoping, I was crossing my fingers, hoping it was going to be a barnstorm of a song. I don't think it's quite the song I thought it was going to be. And it's just something in me that doesn't think it's quite the winner, as incredible as she is. But that's going to be one they'll be talking about around the water cooler on the Wednesday morning around most of Europe.
And I think those are worthy points. Actually, there's a rehearsal video appeared in the last half an hour from Israel, and she's very impressive vocally. The fact that she can deliver all those sounds without fault is very impressive. But I say the only thing that concerns us is just how aggressive it could appear. Now, they could soften it a little bit, but the indication is from another video that they released today, which is Do the Toy Dance or something like that. It suggests that she's going to have those 3 dancers from the video, and it will be quite in your face. That could just be a danger, because whoever I've played this song to hasn't liked it, which is, I don't necessarily flag it up as saying this is the favourite or anything like that. I just think it's a concern that the people I've shown it to just don't get it. Whereas actually Czech Republic, which I wasn't so keen on at first, they've all instantly hooked onto it. It's a very easy to like song.
I'm really torn on Czech Republic.
Yeah,
that's a cracking contemporary bouncy pop song. That's got so many elements in it that are just cool and easy, and he's quite likeable. But the lyric is just so terrible. It's another one of those where you think, do you know what you're singing here? There's some quite offensive lines in this. I mean,
but I don't think you can hear the lyrics. That's it, you see. I think as a juror, I don't think the jurors study the lyrics, and I think he sings fast enough that they whiz straight past you. It's not as if you've got Luna Moon Me Up presented right in front of you.
Well, they're a bit sex pesty. I must confess, the first time I heard them, some of the lines stood out to me. I played them to the missus, and she's like, no, that ain't right.
Isn't that the Eastern European thing, though?
Well, yeah, isn't it?
Versus the British. Oh, you can't say that.
Probably 3/4 of the people listening to it won't have an idea what the words mean anyway. No. So it's almost a moot point, but it just makes me feel a bit dirty listening to it. And I want to like it because there's so many good elements within the song, especially musically.
I have doubts about Czech Republic as well, guys. I mean, I just find it a bit cheap as a pop song, and I think that the spoken word rap element may not go down well with jury members. And I think he comes across a bit smug. I know they're trying to sort of style him in this kind of geek chic way, but I think
that's the way to go. I think it makes him very accessible to the older woman.
I've shown it to an older woman. She didn't like it at all. There's one contender that we're not talking about, and we haven't even mentioned yet.
Go on.
Estonia.
Yeah, they got worries with the funding, haven't they, for her dress, the projection?
They will sort that out. But my worry with Estonia, and I think a lot of people have also used these points, and a lot of people have also said, "Oh, it must be the winner," just because of the voice. But I think it's just a poor effort for the genre. If you compare it, it totally does. There's no real melody to the song. And interestingly, on the Euro jury points, and I'm just going back into my phone to get the points, she hasn't got a point from either the Eastern jury or from Denmark. So Ukraine. You'd expect Ukraine to be supporting that, and they're not. And in fairness,
not at all.
Yeah, and obviously the OGAY poll, which you wouldn't expect them to be supporting it, they haven't, obviously.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's slightly overrated.
The opera songs, usually everyone, the sort of the real music wankers go, "Oh, it's brilliant! It's a song that she's really singing it." It's like, yeah, but they've never had a decent song. Yeah, probably Italy the other year, or probably anything near enough to a. The
only opera song that has ever done well is Italy, and it came from Italians doing what they actually showed the romantic side of it, the ballsy performance. Whereas it's just too sterile and yeah.
That's exactly the word. It is sterile.
So yes, that is our view on semi-final 1. Now we're going to go to pick a potential winner. Now you can pick from anyone. You can pick from the automatic qualifiers, semi-final 2, or this semi-final. We are looking for 3 potential Eurovision winners. Rob, representing the betting community, you can go first.
Okay. Well, one would have to be Israel. I think it's Israel's to lose this year. But, as discussed, it does have issues to overcome. And they need to, pitch the staging right and get Netta's performance right. But for me, it's far and away the strongest up-tempo track of the year, at least in studio form. But let's see how it scrubs up live in Lisbon before we start getting the bunting out for Netta in Jerusalem. I think a lot of entries at the top of the betting market have their potential flaws. So I go further down the list, and I'd pick France. I think it's a song that's going to probably receive a lot of press attention in Lisbon. It's just very unique in this year's field in a good way. I think it's highly credible. I think it's jury friendly. Amelie as the front woman, I think she sells it really well. Ideally, I think it does want some kind of refugee imagery as a backdrop, if that's possible, to hammer home the song's meaning and help convey the emotion of Mercy. But even in its French final form, I still think it's it's one not to be underestimated. And then my third pick, this will sound really left field, but it would be Portugal. I just think it's got a touch of magic about it, a bit like Salvador last year. I think it's being written off mainly because people don't think a repeat win is possible. But I think it's one of the classiest songs in this year's field. I don't think the 8 draw is that much of a barrier, because I think viewers should remember the girl with the pink hair. And
sounds like a book.
I think it's sounds
like my missus.
The song should be towards the top of the jury vote. I think it's modern. It's kind of like a Portuguese The XX.
Yeah.
And I think Claudia, she delivers it with wonderful emotion. And there's a moment towards the end when the Portuguese fans applauded in the national final, and I think we'll see that replicated in Lisbon. And I think that's always something that can help a song. When it goes big in the hall.
It does have a really nice ambient feel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right then, Roy. Last year you picked out Portugal early doors. You even knocked on mine and Rob's door and said, "You want to watch this guy?"
Yeah. As I did with Israel this year, but
you did, yes.
But I'm just not quite feeling it. I want, obviously, because I've got it at 50s. I'm quite happy for it to win.
Yeah.
And I'm wanting it to win, and I'd absolutely love it to win. But it's just something that's telling me it's just going to fumble the last couple of steps. It'll be that poised moment where we're waiting for them to be announced. They've won the jury. We're waiting for the punter vote to announce, and it gets about 11 votes or something. I can just see that kind of thing happening to it. But the one I'm fearing, and you'll hate me for saying this, the one I'm absolutely fearing is Norway.
Yeah.
It's just skulking about there in the 20s, and you've got that instant recognisability from people that follow this show regularly. It's a horrible song, but it's likeable for people that don't like music. It's that kind of
Eurovision fans, you mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's just your nan will like it, your grandkids will like it. We don't like it, but what do we matter? We hardly ever vote. There's just something about it makes me fear that once the lives, we know exactly what he's going to do. We've seen the performance. It ain't going to be any different than that. But it's cheeky charm, his instant recognisability. At least it's not Fairy Tale 2, which is another good thing. I got a horrible feeling he's going to be in the run-in at the end, and we're going to start.
I could definitely see him shorter on the market, absolutely. And I think
surely he's going to be crucified by juries. And we got the jury reveal first.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be lagging.
But even then, I still think it's going to pick up a good, decent bit of jury. I think just on performance, and because jurors are probably going to be a bit sympathetic to him. It's also one of those songs that will cross east and west boundaries because of his heritage. And with the PR, former Eurovision winner, 1500th performance at Eurovision, obviously in the semi-final, it is something that could stand out. I think musical snobs are obviously going to say, what the hell is this? But he does sell it really well, and it's a very accessible song in the same way that Belgium was a few years ago, Laura Tessero.
I've got a horrible feeling in my water about it. I'd kind of be disappointed and pleased for him at the same time, and also it really annoyed Johnny Logan as well. So that's even better.
I have covered it just in case. But
my other one, and that's just sneaking around the fringes of the sort of nearly not quite, is Australia. Yeah. I'm thinking they're going to chuck the kitchen sink at this. This feels like their push. They're actually going for it. This is probably the nearest year to 2011 I can remember for no clear standout winner. And something's going to come through and win it by accident. And I fear Australia, with its big anthemic kind of like, it's aiming at the core audience, the core fan audience at least. And your punters will see a big sing-along anthemic thing. Or Norway, who are just going to go, oh, ain't he cute? And it's a funny song. They're my two fears. Obviously, the song I want most to win it, though, is Hungary. Ain't never going to happen.
Never.
That would be a beautiful thing. Never, not in a million years. But, oh man, that'd be like a dream.
Right, that's it, folks. I'm going to give my top three in the Automatically Qualifiers podcast. That will be out sometime next week. But Rob and I are off to Amsterdam this weekend to watch Eurovision in concert. Dan from SofaBet will also be there. Roy, are you going?
I'm not. No. I'm on a punk rock tour this weekend. I'm doing 3 nights in Bradford-on-Avon, Abergavenny, and Bristol.
Okay.
In my terrible band.
See, who needs to go to Amsterdam when you've got Roy?
Yes, rock and roll all the way with me.
Will you be covering AWS?
If we were good enough to be actually play it, yeah, but no.
Right, that's it, folks. Thank you to Rob and Roy. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Gareth.
We will be back with semi-final 2 at the weekend. In the meantime, please share this podcast with your Twitter and Facebook friends. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes. So until next time, goodbye.
ESCtips.com will return with another show soon. In the meantime, show us some love by following us and sharing this podcast with your Facebook and Twitter friends.